Hi, this is Kristen here. Welcome to another process video, and today I'm working on 30 Days of Sketches with Kristy's Beautiful Life. This is series 19, and I am working on sketch number 24. That is by Melinda Barkman. And to me, it looked like it was kind of a beach scene. So you can see like it almost kind of looks like sand with maybe kind of like a, maybe kind of a background there with a lot of kind of beach themed embellishments. And so I decided to work with 49 and Market's Beach Vibes collection. So of course I've got all the embellishments there. And the pictures I'm going to be documenting are a couple photographs of my son. We were vacationing in Hilton Head. So he is now 11. And this was before we even had my second son. So I really liked this sandpaper. So I decided I'm going to essentially kind of create kind of like a scene with it, because that's kind of how I interpreted the sketch. I am actually going to do a double page layout. I try to stay fairly true to the sketch. I know I did change kind of the positioning of the pictures because I think I had a little bit more pictures and maybe in bigger sizes than she had on the sketch, but so I decided I wanted to use this as kind of my background because I kind of felt like that faded area kind of almost looked a little bit like sand there. And so kind of to make this work though, because I only had one sheet of each of those papers, I have to cut it in half because I'm going to do a double page layout. But I knew I was going to tear the beach, the sand part of it, to kind of give it a little bit more texture. And so I knew I wasn't going to be able to make that work on a 12 by 12 piece of paper. So I will end up pulling out, I think I just end up using blank white cardstock, and I cut that down into, I think I cut like an inch off of each side on the side and then the bottom. So you'll see that here in a moment. So in that way I can try to make it work a little bit more within kind of the amount of paper that I had. So I'm going to cut an inch off here, roughly an inch. And I cut an inch off from the other side too. So in that way I can add a border to it and then ensure that I've got enough paper to be able to tear it. So kind of what I'm doing here is auditioning different pieces to act as my border. I kind of was thinking this one at first, but then I end up pulling in a different piece because I just kind of felt like it blended in too much with the sand and then this paper here. So I'm kind of like, I was almost thinking about going ahead and adhering it down, but I'm like, let me just start going on this part of it, and then I can decide on a border, because then kind of depending on what embellishments I pull in, I might decide I want a different border. So I had something sticky here I kept messing with. It was bothering me. I think it was like some adhesive there. So I'm going to go ahead and get this part cut off, and then you'll see here in a moment I'll go ahead and rip that beach paper. And since I knew I was going to rip it, I knew that it wasn't going to be like a perfect 12 by 12. So that's the reason why I end up cutting down this white paper, just to kind of make sure I had enough paper to ensure that I could do the double layout. I really need to pick up some more of the laser cut pieces because I've kind of gone through quite a bit of those. I've kind of gotten smart here recently, like when I've ordered the laser cuts or ordered anything from 49 and Market, I feel like if there's like laser cuts in particular, I feel like I really would use a lot of, like for example, the floral laser cuts. I've tried to order 2 of those. So like I ordered the Echoes of Time, and actually in fact I'll have a layout coming up here with the Echoes of Time that I was smart and got, because I really like the florals on it. I was like, I'm going to use a lot of those florals, so I went ahead and ordered two laser cut pieces. Because I find myself going through the laser cuts the most. I just love them. And so, see, that's why I decided to go ahead and do a smaller, cut down that white paper to use that as kind of my paper to adhere all this to, and cut it down, so then that way I knew I would have enough of the sandpaper, because tearing it, obviously you're not going to be able to tear it perfectly and have enough left over to go on a full 12 by 12. So this is where I'm kind of trying to create like a little bit of a scene. Like I kind of felt like the sand would be kind of the bottom of, according to like the sketch, and then that paper up at the top I kind of felt like more like kind of like a sky. I was having a hard time kind of getting it to lay where I wanted it, to ensure that I had enough paper left over. And I very clearly did not get that to cut all the way through. I was having a hard time getting that cutter to fully cut through the 49 and Market papers, as well as like the Carta Bella, because those are both really thick papers. So, but some of that was just my own. I mean, the cutter was actually pretty sharp. I just was inexperienced with it because it's an older cutter. I've not used it in a long time, but it was the only thing that I could pack and fit in the bags that I was taking. So I'm just trying to get these photographs straight. I think I have them pretty much kind of where she's got them in the sketch. And then I know there's like embellishments to the left-hand side. Title's kind of up at the top. It looked like there was maybe a strip of paper up at the top, which I don't end up doing that. So these are just chipboard pieces. And the top says happiness is a sunset and a seashore. And then I end up putting in this little saying down here. I don't remember if I end up using, which one I end up using. I think it's this one. And I think it says like sandy toes, sun-kissed nose, or something like that. And then I thought maybe I would work in some of these wave chipboard pieces, but I end up not getting those to work. So just kind of experimenting here with what I wanted to do. And the reason why I was thinking I was going to use those waves was to kind of recreate that like kind of wavy pattern she had at the top with the title, but I just didn't think it worked well. This is a tag that came in the die cut pieces. Same with this little driftwood piece. And I don't recall if that makes it. I actually might end up taking that off. Put these little board shorts over here. And then I decided I really like this beach chair, but it was kind of, I felt like with the driftwood, it was like almost too much. So I think the driftwood goes away. And the floral pieces in this collection are just so pretty. I like that little bucket there. So that's where the driftwood goes away there. So then I felt like you could see a little bit more sand underneath the beach chair. This little crabby guy here, he's so cute. I'm gonna put a couple sandals by the board shorts, swimming trunks, whatever you wanna call them. It's a little beach umbrella. I'd actually been saving this for a different layout, but I just really liked it here, so I was like, all right, I'm going to use it. So that's one reason why I kind of want to get more laser cuts, because they had a really neat palm tree in that set of laser cuts, and I would definitely reuse them. I honestly, if they had done a whole laser cut sheet of palm trees, I would have loved that. So this is a little rub-on that I'm putting below that chipboard piece. I kind of felt like I needed something down at the bottom. Like I mean, I really like how the layout looks at this point, but I just felt like there needed to be something at the bottom. So that's why I pulled out the rub-ons, because I was like, well, maybe I'll rub on something down here at the bottom. But I just felt like nothing really was going to work without looking kind of, like kind of out of place. I do like this rub-on here though, so I end up adding that's actually a branding strip down at the bottom with a puffy sticker life preserver, and then I don't know if I added a word phrase there, but anyway, so that's kind of how I ended up with that. So that was a close-up shot of the first page, and now I'm working on the second one. So at this point I had decided on using this green border, just because I kind of felt like it stood out from the rest of like kind of the paper. And then once I got the the embellishments on there, I was like, it works fine. So it looked like on this side of the sketch that she had 3 pictures, kind of one that's at the top, and I think like 2 kind of wonky underneath it. But I really felt like with the embellishments and things like that, I couldn't really get it to work that way. So I decided to just put the picture straight across like this. And then in the laser cuts, they had kind of like these beach, kind of tiki hut pieces. And I thought they were cute at first, but I'm like, it's kind of like if you're like sitting there drinking like alcoholic drinks. I don't know. It's kind of what it made me think of. And I'm like, you know what? I kind of like this surfboard one instead. So, because I kind of felt like that went a little bit more with kind of the theme of kind of how this layout was going. So I ended up pulling in some like little scuba gear stuff here. And at the bottom, I've added one of those branding strips, floral branding strips with kind of a jar full of seashells. I'll add, I think I add a tag down there, and also like a seagull. So, which some of this I cut off because, obviously I was out of frame again. It seems to be the theme with these layouts that I was doing while we were on vacation, but. So that's where I added the little seagull there. He's kind of on like a little pier. And I was trying to figure out what to do behind the picture. So I was kind of I felt like it was moving along fine down here at the bottom in the sand. But it was like at the top, I was like, well, I want to add something, but I'm just not sure what I want to add. So I was kind of racking my brain with that one. I like this like little sandcastle piece here. So of course with one of the packaging that had come with, I don't know if that was with the die cuts or puffy stickers or something, they had all these surfboards that you could cut out, fussy cut out. And I decided, I'm like, well, I've got that little, surf shack off to the right. I'm like, why don't I put some surfing boards behind? That would make sense. So I decided, because I was like thinking like adding a whole row behind, but I'm like, that's a little bit much. So I pull in this rub-on, and I'm like, I kind of like that. I think that looks good. But I wanted more surfboards, so I put one over on here, and I'm like, you know what, I still have a blank space here. So I'm like, let me add one more. But then I was like, well, I don't like it like looking super balanced, like, 2 surfboards and 2 surfboards. So I will move one over and then shift the rub-on over. And I feel like that looks a little bit less intentional, Sometimes balance is great. I'm usually a big balance person, but I feel like in scrapbooking sometimes it looks too obvious, and if it does, sometimes it's better to to shift things around a little bit. So I decided in this background, I wanted to add some more rub-ons. So there was kind of this like surfing wave rub-ons. So I'm trying to kind of build a little scene up behind the shack here. That's one thing I love about 49 Markets rub-ons. You can layer them, so cut them apart, reuse them in different spots. So, don't feel like you have to use a whole entire rub-on in its entirety. Like I will often cut them and then kind of reuse them. So you can see I've cut that one in half, and I'm going to probably just go ahead and layer that. So in that way I've got, I'm stretching the rub-ons a little bit further. And so here is that finished layout. I got everything glued down, went ahead and got the rub-ons adhered down. And here are a few close-up shots. I will include the playlist down below as well as the Facebook group. And I appreciate you for coming by to watch another process video.